All right, let's get into Leo. Not that I'm biased to Leos at all, except for the entire part where I am. All right, move this. Um, boop, boop, boop. Cool. So Leo, a lot of really interesting, a lot of big energies happening with Leo. It's a fairly large constellation, actually. So, of the zodiac constellations, I think it's the fourth biggest. Pretty sure. Anyway, so there's a lot of big stars too, a lot of star alignments. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20 alignments, 20 star alignments. Some very bright stars here. The brightest being Regulus. Oh my gosh. Over at 10 degrees. So basically, if somebody has a 10-degree Leo placement, they have a ton of Leo energy. Like, hands down, 10 degrees Leo is going to be the placement for a lot of people here, to have some just like raging Leo energy. But aside from that, there's a lot of other stars here to look at as well. Leo will always be between Cancer and Virgo here. All right, so let's get into it. Leo mythology. In Greek mythology, this is seen, Leo, the constellation Leo, is seen as the Nemean lion. This lion had impenetrable skin, so nobody could kill him. Very challenging creature. The lion would take women as hostages to its cave and lure purposely take these women, take these women as hostages, lure them back to his cave where he lived so that he could then lure the other local warriors to his cave too to kill them, hunt them, kill them. Anyway, Hercules could not defeat the lion without arrows, so he trapped it in its cave and defeated him through a wrestling match. Because again, he has that impenetrable skin, so can't beat him, by stabbing or arrows or anything. Like, he literally had to defeat him through sheer strength, okay? And use lion's own claws then to cut off its pelt and fur and then complete like with the lion's head and everything. So cut off every part of this lion. Hercules then wore this lion's skin and head as a cloak and to protect him, and also made him appear way more intimidating because now he has, if anybody tries to shoot an arrow at him, great, he has this cloak now and it just bounces right off of him. Crazy energy here. So in other mythologies, the Nemean lion isn't the Nemean lion. For Persians, it was Sir or Seer. Mesopotamians also have different representations of this lion. In most of the interpretations, though, it is of a lion. The Babylonians, Urgula, the great lion. The Syrians had it as the lion Aryo, and then Artan for the Turks. So a lot of different mythologies here, most of them representing this constellation as a lion, a male lion. So always keep that in mind too. The Leo symbolism, just as Leo the lion is usually a male lion. And we'll get into the symbolism for Leo minor and other more feminine versions of Leo energy as we go through this. All right, so Leo. Leo astrological interpretations based on just the Nemean lion mythology in general. Strength, determination, very smart, may trick others though for personal gain, very aggressive, very thick-skinned, so can take a lot of harm or battles, or if people are throwing words at them, they might be like, whatever type thing. Very persistent, power may be taken and used for others' benefits, so keeping that in mind, like very powerful energy, but able to potentially be harnessed by others. Fighter and destroyer, destructive energy. So, not chill, not chill energy, which nobody was expecting Leo to be chill because of the fire sign. But now we have this Nemean lion mythology, and it gets pretty dark pretty quick, honestly. All right, so where are we at? Other interpretations for Leo energy just based on lion symbolism overall. We have strength, agility, royalty associated with the sun. So destroyer of darkness can also be seen as that. A lot of courage, dignity, a fighting spirit, very brave people, guardian and protector, king of the jungle, and king of beasts. So a lot of really, really big energy when it comes to Leo, and that is generally why Leos are the way they are, especially male Leos, right? All right, so we also have a lot of Leo energy connected to Hydra energy, because you see Hydra takes up a lot of different constellations, starting over in Cancer, moving into Leo, and then Virgo, as well as a celestial neighbor to these energies. So if somebody has 1 degree Leo, 2, 4, 9, 11, 14, 20, or 33 degrees Leo, they're going to have a lot of this Hydra energy as well, especially if somebody's over at 1 degree Leo, they're going to have 2 Hydra alignments, which can get pretty messy pretty quick with all of this energy. All right, so Hydra mythology, we have Hydra here, which is seen as the water or sea serpent or dragon or snake. So really depends on the myth that you're looking at. That she's been depicted as a serpent, a dragon, and a snake before. Hydra is the offspring of Typhon and Echidna, whatever. 9 heads. Different stories have different how many heads she has. Hercules was sent to kill Hydra as one of his tasks. So now he's killed the Nemean lion and Hydra, right? So very interesting. It all fits together, and Hercules has alignments with some other constellations, which we'll get to a little bit later. And then so Hercules went to go kill Hydra as one of his tasks, and he was tasked this because they thought that Hydra would kill him, take him out, but that didn't happen. And every time he cut off one of the heads of Hydra, another would grow in its place. Eventually, he realized that he'd need to cauterize the wound, which means to like put fire over it, or usually in those days, they would take their sword, get their sword really hot, and then like put it on the flesh so it like burns the wound so it stops bleeding, basically. So another head would not grow back. So he realized that finally, like, oh, if I cauterize where I cut the head off, then it's not going to pop up with another head. Hydra had 1 immortal head, and that head Hercules cut off and buried under a heavy rock. So bye Hydra, you're out, killed you, sucks to suck. That was probably what Hercules was thinking. Anyway, all right, so in another myth, Hydra, this water snake, is seen when Apollo sent a crow, Corvus, which you can see down here, to get water in a cup, which is crater right here, for a sacrifice, or one of their rituals. The crow got to the water with this cup and noticed that a fig tree, but the figs were not ripe yet on this tree. So Corvus, bright idea, he was like, you know what? These are almost ripe though, so I'm just gonna wait here for a few days until these figs are ripe. I'm gonna eat these figs, and then I'm gonna go return this water to Apollo. But anyway, when the crow returned with the cup of water, he also returned with a water snake, or Hydra in this circumstance. And the crow blamed the water snake and said it was blocking the spring. Apollo, not a dumb guy, okay, very wise person. He looked at the crow and was like, I know you're lying, screw you, like it should not have taken you that long, you had 1 job, what the hell. So Apollo was mad, and he put the crow, the cup, meaning crater, Corvus, and then the snake, Hydra, into the sky. So that is another myth for Hydra here. All right, Hydra astrological interpretations. Never a good time with Hydra, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this energy is some very dark, not good energy. So if somebody does have these placements, they might not be the most pleasant person to deal with, or even yourself. If you have these placements, then it's going to take a lot of introspection, being like, okay, shit, am I like this? Do I want to be like this? In what ways can I get to a higher expression of this energy if I don't want to be in this darkness for so long? All right, so Hydra astrological interpretations, very generally evil, like ill-intentioned. Harmful to others, can be very two-faced or have multiple faces or identities that are shown to the world, non-genuine then in words and actions sometimes too. Family line may be cursed in general, like it may have a very have a background in very dark magic or shenanigans of the sort. Poisonous can also be seen as having toxic behaviors or just being a toxic person in general, blocking others and their progress, or just honestly being blamed by others sometimes too. It doesn't mean that they're always the one to blame, but they might be blamed. And then destructive to self and others, and then seen as legless, so unable to move through the world as others do. It doesn't mean they can't move through the world, it just means they do it a little bit differently than other people. All right. Leo Minor. So this is a constellation right above Leo. It's probably one of the closest ones to Leo, except for Sextans down here. So Leo Minor, if somebody has 2 degrees Leo, 10 degrees Leo, 15 or 22 degrees Leo, they will have alignments with this Leo minor energy. All right, so Leo minor then is the smaller lion, or it can also be seen as the lioness, whereas Leo is the male version of the lion, whereas the Leo minor is a little bit more of the lioness or smaller lion. All right, associated with the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. Her whole thing is like she who is powerful. This is another soul of Hathor. If you click on Hathor, it'll bring you to the Taurus archetype. You see a lot of Hathor symbolism within that energy as well. Goddess of the desert sun. All right, she represents war, healing, plague, and chaos. Kind of contradictory a little bit with the war and healing and plague, you know what I mean? Because with a lot of chaos, plague, and war, that's a lot, but she's able to then heal everybody at the end of it too. So she almost destroyed all of humanity when she was sent to punish people for not obeying God. And she ended up killing so many people that the other gods had to step in because she was just going a little too hard. Okay. They had to trick her with wine, which got her drunk so that she couldn't continue her rampage. And then she was married to Ta, who is another soul of Zeus, back in Egyptian mythology or history, depending on how you want to look at it. Personally, I see it as history. Not everybody does. That's fine. All right, so Leo minor astrological interpretations then. So the lioness is actually the hunter of their pride, okay? So keeping that in mind, like Leo men, lions, they're great. They do what they do, but they're not the hunters. The lionesses, very violent, very protective, shines brightly. Again, this is a sun energy, sun goddess, shines light onto darkness. So some people prefer living in the shadows, right? Like if you're dealing with like a Cancerian or maybe like a Scorpio or maybe even a Pisces, they might be more comfortable in the dark. Whereas Leo shows up, they're like, hey, want to look at this darkness? And like not everybody does. Okay, so like sometimes Leo energy is like, what the fuck? Because they're just like showing everybody, hey, you want to see how dark it is over there? Here's a light. And they're like, chill out. Like people aren't supposed to know that. And you're like, well, here's a light anyway. It can be a little overwhelming if somebody's not ready for that, right? So this energy of Leo minor punishes evildoers, can be very chaotic, but can also be very healing. It really depends with them, you know, like, are they having a good day? Are they a purring lion that has their belly filled and just vibing? Or have they been starved for the past 2 months and they're gonna chase this whatever down, this like prey down to feed them and their family? Like you don't know. It can be either or really. So we'll go to war. Fighters, warriors, just in general, like very not, they're not peaceful, right? They're definitely not, they're like always on alert, okay? Not necessarily peaceful individuals. Might take things too far to prove a point, may end up getting tricked by others, potentially other people using them for their power. They may thrive in warmer, like desert-like environments, and then again, these people can be very destructive too. So I don't, people like to say a bunch of whatever they say about other signs, but like Leos can cause a lot of damage. All right, so uh Ursa Major, this also impacts Leo, the entirety of Leo, actually. There's a lot of different star alignments here. So if somebody has 2 degrees Leo, 6 degrees, 13, 14, 22, 24, 26, 29, or 38 degrees Leo, you are going to have star alignments then to Ursa Major, some of them more impactful than others. For example, at 24 degrees, we have both Merak and Dubhi, words. But these are both very bright. 1.95 would be the brightest star in Ursa Major, so that is aligned with this Leo energy if you have a 24-degree Leo placement. Again, if you have like 23 degrees or 25 degrees, I would also probably include that if I was interpreting for myself. I'd at least read it for myself, and then if I'm interpreting for another person, I might actually just mention it to them, right? Like, oh, hey, this could be your energy that you are able to tap into at times. Maybe, right? We don't know until we ask people, until we talk about it. Okay. So what's the mythology here behind the bear? All right, there's two different myths. The first myth, we talked about this in the Cancer video, so this will be a repeat. If you've already heard this, that's great. Feel free to skip forward or feel free to listen, whichever you prefer. All right, so myth 1, there was a nymph named Callisto who was a priestess of the goddess Artemis. Artemis, again, is Apollo's sister, the one who killed Orion because Apollo was like, hey, shoot that thing over in the water over there. And Artemis didn't know, but she was killing Orion. Very dramatic, but mythology. All right, so part of Callisto's vow to Artemis was that she would remain a virgin and took a vow of chastity. This was to give more power then to Artemis. All right, so which we see a lot in these times. Zeus saw Callisto and fell in love with her. Great. Awesome. Thanks, Zeus. Callisto and Zeus had a child, Arcus. Artemis found out that Callisto was pregnant and she turned her into a bear because she wasn't supposed to be out there having sex because she took a vow of chastity for Artemis, right? So that clearly didn't go very well. I mean, I do again think this was mainly a Zeus problem as it normally is, but again, the women are getting blamed. Shocker. All right. So Callisto lived then as a bear because Artemis just turned her into one for 15 years, but she had already had her son Arcus. One day, Arcus was in the woods by himself, hanging out, being a 15-year-old, probably around that. And he came upon Callisto, but she was a bear in the form of a bear. So he obviously wasn't like, this is my mom. He was like, this is a bear. So he got scared and he drew his spear and he was going to kill her because, he's trying to protect himself from a bear. And she's probably trying to talk to him like, rah, 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 but she's a bear. So he can't understand. You get it. So Zeus finally did something sort of right for once in his life. He saw what was about to happen and he sent a large gust of wind to carry both Arcus and Callisto into the heavens. Callisto becoming Ursa Major and Arcus becoming the constellation Boots, which is associated with Virgo energy. In other stories, though, we have Hera, Zeus's wife, turning Callisto into the bear and not Artemis. So kind of up to you. But either way, it was either Artemis or Hera that turned Callisto into this bear. All right, second myth, we have Adrastea was one of the nymphs who raised Zeus as a child. All right, so Zeus's father, Cronus, also Saturn, was told by an oracle that one of his children would overthrow him. And because of this prophecy, Cronus would then eat every single child that was born because he was like, you're not overthrowing me, right? Rhea, Zeus's mother, who was tired of Cronus literally eating every single one of her children, was able to trick Cronus and took Zeus and hid him in Crete, where he was raised by these nymphs, one of them being this lady here, not lady, nymph rather, Adrastea. Again, names, no one's sure. Okay, I mean, I'm sure other people are sure. I'm not sure. All right, so Adastea Ursa Major, and Ida, Ursa Minor, then nurse Zeus for a year. So these constellations then are attributed to the nymphs that raised Zeus. Emelathea, a goat that nurse Zeus, was placed into the sky as the star Capella, and that is in the constellation of Auriga, which influences Taurus energy. Feel free to go back and remember about him. Zeus did eventually overthrow Cronus, releasing his siblings Hades, Poseidon, Demeter, Hera, and Hestia. So take whichever myth that you think. I like the first one more, but you know, everybody has their own myths that they like or identify with. All right. But either way, actually, it does have to do with Zeus, so interesting. All right, Ursa Major. Mythology. There's a lot of different myths that surround this energy. Very old constellation, very old, very has a lot of lore to it, or a lot of mythology. The Romans called it Septentrio, a seven-plowed oxen. Some other cultures had it as a camel, a shark, a skunk and sickle, a bushel and canoe. Chinese have it as the government, which I think is interesting, and then the northern measure. So I personally, I would like more information there. If you have any or any idea about culturally what that might mean, I'm very curious. But anyway, then Hindu, they have it as the seven sages for this constellation. All right. Astrological interpretations. If you have star alignments to Ursa Major from a planet or your moon or your sun, anything really, even an asteroid potentially, if you want to get into asteroid astrology. So this energy can be very motherly, very protective of your children in general, like not going to attack your own children. I mean, I would hope not, but you know what I mean. Rebellious, protective, may feel unjustly punished by others or society in some type way. And unjustly, right? Like not your fault type thing. Nurturing, may end up raising other people's children. That can be in forms of adoption, fostering, taking care of kids within your own family. Any situation that you might find your, even I guess teachers or even nannies or anybody that's helping raise other people's kids could definitely be seen with this energy too. All right, the next constellation we have is Antlia rather. It is right below Hydra, but in alignment with this Leo energy. So if somebody has a planet at 7 degrees Leo or 15 degrees Leo, this energy could be an addition to their Leo energy. It's kind of like secondary energy, right? The Leo energy would be their first main energy, but then if they have 7 or 15 degrees within this, it could be aligned with these stars too. So in Leo mythology and astrological interpretations, because there's not really much mythology that goes behind it, it's more of just a symbolism thing at this point. If you can find other mythology, would love to hear it. But this is the pump or an air pump. It pushes air, and Leah, not a pneumatica. Anyway, pneumatic means containing or operated by air or gas under pressure. And then an informal meaning here is having a body with full and pleasing curves. So very interesting. So somebody that has these, you know, two different star alignments either at 7 degrees or 15 degrees astrologically, then you could look at that and be like, okay, they may be supportive of air placements, they might gas up other people or like hype up other people. These people might have a very nice body, very nice curves. They might be focused a lot on mental energy and then working well under pressure or able to handle a lot of pressures within their life, which love that. But also it can be more challenging, but it's like they like it there, they thrive there, they work well with that energy. All right, Sextans. This is the next constellation we have. So if somebody has 10 degrees Leo or 16 degrees Leo, this energy would impact them. All right, for Sextans. All right, mythology of Sextans. There is no real associated mythology, but This was once called Sextans or Urania or Urani. Urani or Uranus, if you want to think about it like that, means of heaven. So sextans or of the heavens. The heavens is just, not the earth. So things that are celestial. All right, sextants are an instrument used to measure star positions. Very interesting. They measure the angle between an astronomical object and the horizon for celestial navigation. A lot of these were used by people that were on ships and, needed to utilize the stars to know what direction they were going, where it is on the horizon compared to where it is tomorrow and the next day. You get it. All right. And then filters allow direct observation of the sun. Very interesting. So astrologically, what could this mean? The sextants, yes, just sextants, I guess. I guess it used to be called sextans Urani. All right. So astrologically, these people might actually have astrological or astronomical insights or abilities, either learned quickly or remembered from a past life. So these people might literally just come in with information being like, no, I remember this from my past life. Like, I'm going to automatically know this within this life without really learning it, which is amazing. It's pretty cool. These people can be very easily connected to their higher self, a lot of sense of remembering who they were. Higher self is pretty much just the alien form of you that usually exists within a different star system, but here you are on Earth as a soul, as a separation from your higher self. That's maybe for another day, but anyway. So these people might have a really big connection to aliens or other heavenly beings, angels, etc. Higher purpose on this earth. Most of them do starseed or sent from stars or another star system, usually to bring knowledge and bring insight to people. And then very skilled at math, or at least the ability to be very skilled at math. So maybe not everybody like had the opportunity to learn everything that they could have, but if they were in the right environment, they would be able to pick up on those things really, really quickly. So that is some sextants energy for you within Leo energy. All right, next one we have is crater, which we talked about a little bit earlier when we talked about Hydra. But people with 24 degrees Leo, 27, 30, 31, there's two different stars here at 31 degrees, 34 degrees, and 37 degrees. If they have Leo energy at those degrees, they will also have alignments with this crater energy down here. All right. So the crater mythology, move my face a little bit. All right, so crater mythology. Apollo sent a crow to go get water in a cup for a sacrifice or a ceremony. The crow got to the water, and when it got there, he noticed that there was a fig tree, but the figs were not ripe yet. So the crow waited a few days for the figs to ripen. The crow returned with a cup of water and also a water snake, and the crow basically was like, hey, this snake was blocking the spring this whole time. That's why it took me so long. Apollo, who was smart and knew that Corvus was lying, the crow was lying, he was very angry and he put the crow, the cup, crater here, and then the snake, Hydra, into the sky. In an alternate mythology, this cup crater can be seen as like the Holy Grail or the cup that Jesus drank at from the Last Supper. And then an alternate meaning of the Holy Grail is Jesus's bloodline. So very interesting things happening there. Read into it as deeply or not deeply as you would like. Up to you. All right, additional things to consider. Apollo is the same soul as Lucifer. Lucifer may have harmed Jesus's bloodline or put it into the sky at some point. So you never know. Based on this story, that could be what they're trying to tell us or not. Up to you. Okay, let's move on. So crater astrological interpretations. If somebody has alignments to crater, they might have these themes play out within their life. So maybe holding on to something that is meant for, or maybe holding something that is meant for a sacrifice, whether that be a child, an item. This would signify a family history in the occult for sure, or even themselves. Like maybe they were meant to be a sacrifice, and that's really brutal on a lot of levels, but it happens. Unbeknownst to that person, it happens. So holding water, these people may be able to deal with or handle or control their emotions very, very well. And which is interesting. As this, so this energy, this crater energy is actually in opposition to Aquarius energy, which is the water bearer. So the water bearer is like pouring out emotions at the right time, where the crater is more like holding on to certain water, and able to just deal with it as is. So it's, there's is no like pouring out of it, which is interesting. I think I just thought about that more than I ever have. So maybe you have some thoughts there too. These people might come from a royal bloodline or a like important. I'm not saying there are unimportant bloodlines, but there's some that are ancient and hold a lot of history behind them and are able to do different things based on their family line, realistically, their lineage. These people may be objectified or used as an object by some people, and then they may feel delays in feeling full emotionally due to other people's choices, which can be kind of challenging to deal with. All right, let me grab some tea. I'm almost out. So sad. Okay. Centaurus. Very, very large constellation. We'll be talking about it a lot more once we get into Virgo, Libra, I think even a little bit of Scorpio, maybe. But the hind legs here and tail do align with Leo energy, very late degree Leo energy from 34 degrees to 38 degrees. So there's actually only one star alignment within Leo. If somebody has 34 degrees Leo, they will have 2 stars in Centaurus, which is pretty impactful energy. So if somebody has 34 degrees Leo, make sure to look at Centaurus energy for added information about who they are. All right, Centaurus mythology. We're going to be going over this a lot. So within like multiple constellations or multiple zodiac constellations, which is fine. There's a lot of energy here. All right, Centaurus mythology, half man, half horse, as you can see here, very much depicted as that was what it was. Babylonians called this constellation the Bison Man, which was associated with the sun god Utu or Shamash, which is the same soul as the Greek Helios. Just for a little bit of backstory there. Seen sacrificing an animal, Lupus. So actually, let's go back. If you can see here, so you see Centaurus, and then he is killing an animal, which is Lupus, and then you can't really see on this one, but once we get into it, there's a constellation called Altair, which is an altar. So it's essentially Centaurus sacrificing Lupus on an altar. And if you are familiar with Harry Potter, Professor Lupin was a werewolf, right? So this is where a lot of, I mean, everything's connected, right? J.K. Rowling did not make all that shit up. It was based in the occult, based on mythology. So anyway, Centaurus is seen sacrificing an animal, Lupus. Some associate this constellation with the centaur Chiron, but Chiron is largely represented within Sagittarius energy. Centaur energy, very drunken, very like wild, lawless, high sex drive, almost honestly like a slave to their sexual desires. Use trees and branches as weapons. So pretty primitive, but also were able to get a lot done when they work together, but again, just like kind of drunkards of the world. I do think that like Chiron, when it comes to centaurs, is a little bit different. We'll talk about him once we talk about Sagittarius a little bit more. But yeah, these guys are interesting, to say the least. All right, so if somebody has Centaurus place or alignments, they might be very lustful. They might have a very high sex drive with very little regulation, which is not good, right? That leads to a lot of different things, multiple children, potentially STDs, like just not very safe. Drinking problem, alcohol issues, not fond of rules or laws, outlaw vibes for sure, which, you know, can be fine, but also can get a little old sometimes, for sure. Might participate in rituals that involve sacrifice. These people might be into hunting or killing animals. They might be very resourceful. Again, hunting and killing animals can also be seen as like providing for families and stuff. So it's doesn't mean it's just like a negative thing, but it can be. Some people just like to kill things, and that's the whole nother can of worms. But anyway, very resourceful, very violent, able to fight and use what they have to fight. So very resourceful in that way. And then feels at home in nature or a natural environment for sure. All right. Another alignment that we start getting into when we talk about Leo energy, and we're going to be talking about Draco a lot because there's a lot of different alignments. It takes up a big portion of the sky once you go north. So, but if somebody has 33 degrees of Leo energy, they will also have an alignment with Draco. All right. So Draco mythology, the accounts of Draco being the dragon constellation go all the way back to the Babylonians. So this is not new energy. This has been around. It's well-established type thing. All right, the great dragon of the north. In Greek mythology, I just got like an interesting feeling when I said that. So like I do think a lot of this energy is still playing out within our collective energy. How, I'm not exactly sure, but my guides I'm sure will show me later. So that's fun. All right, so Greek mythology, this was seen as the dragon Ladon, who had hundreds of heads, and Hera placed him to guard the gardens of Hesperides, which held the golden apples that needed guarding. So, because this garden was so important, Hera was like, all right, this 100-headed dragon, Ladon, is going to be the protector of this garden. All right. So during Hercules' 12 labors, he was told to go get the golden apples and had to slay Ladon, the dragon, slaying dragons in order to do it. He used the poison he got from killing Hydra. Remember, Hydra was the snake, the big snake, because anytime she bit anything, like she was very poisonous, very venomous, so able to kill things really easily. So, sorry. Hercules then used the poison he got from killing Hydra to create poisonous arrows, which killed Ladon so that he could go get the apples. Dang. In Roman mythology, Draco was one of the great titans who warred with the Olympian gods for 10 years. Minerva, or Athena in Roman culture, threw Draco into the sky where it froze around the North Pole. Interesting. And it's also interesting that, we don't really see around the North Pole or the South Pole. We're not allowed to go there as humans, which is interesting. It's like, why aren't we allowed to go there? I don't know. Maybe there's dragons. Maybe there's not. Who knows? I'm sure somebody does. Anyway, so Draco, astrological implications or interpretations here. If somebody has Draco alignments, they might just take up a lot of space, and wherever they're at, they might take up a lot of space. They might be very a guardian or a protector. They will fight to the death. Like, they don't give a fuck. They will fight to the death. They might feel stuck or frozen in one spot or in one mindset or in some kind of situation that they're in. Or I mean, that could even be seen as like PT or like a stress response, right? Like fight, flight, freeze. Like they might get stuck in freeze and not be able to move on from certain situations or deal with it effectively. They don't just fight for no reason, though. They usually will have a just cause for fighting. Even, I mean, in self-defense, sure, but in general, they aren't just fighting out here to fight. May possess hidden knowledge, may be pretty chaotic individuals, and hard to beat when it comes to battle. Like very challenging, very strong energies. All right. So, interestingly enough, we have Virgo here that impacts Leo. So, just at the last degree of Leo, we do see an overlap of Leo and Virgo energy. So, a true cusp, like they do overlap at their last degree. So, 0 degrees Virgo would be 38 degrees Leo, and vice versa. You get it? So, there's a lot happening here. So, Virgo constellation, when it comes to Leo energy, though, So Virgo mythology is seen as the star maiden or the goddess Astrea. She carries the wheat, also known as a fertility goddess and the goddess of the harvest. She dwelled upon the earth with mankind, but then she left because she was like, you guys are too corrupt. You are too lawless. I cannot with you. She was the daughter of Astraeus, who is the god of dusk, and the daughter of Eos, the goddess of dawn. So quite literally the daughter of dusk and dawn. Prophesies that she will return to bring justice and innocence back to the world. Love that for her. And then holds the scales of justice in Libra, which we'll talk about a little bit more once we get do Virgo and Libra as we move through the zodiac constellations as well. All right, so the key words here for this Virgo energy with her is divine justice, innocence, purity, hope, righteousness, moral integrity, truth, and precision. So a lot of these traits can be attributed to Virgo energy then too. All right. Other Virgo mythology. A lot of depth here with Virgo. So this is about Demeter. Demeter and her daughter Persephone. So again, there's a lot of different layers here. I would kind of assume that like because Astrea was like, fuck it, I'm out, you guys are too corrupt, then Demeter and her daughter Persephone were able to take over this archetype a little bit more because of the absence of Astrea. Anyway, Demeter, goddess of the harvest, interesting. Goddess of the harvest, a nature goddess, the goddess of grain and agriculture, had a daughter with Zeus, Persephone. All right. She is the daughter of Cronus, Saturn, and Rhea. Eventually, she became a nurse. She had sent a drought to Earth when Persephone was kidnapped, and that drought almost wiped out all of humanity. But then because, you know, she was like, you guys are gonna kidnap my daughter. Okay, well, I'm going to literally go scorched earth and like drought you all out. So now you don't have any food. What are you gonna do now? And so they made a deal with her that during the spring and summer, Persephone, her daughter, would be reunited with Demeter, her mother, and then plants would grow. This is where we see spring and summer. And then in fall and winter, Persephone would go back to the underworld with Hades, who kidnapped her. And she would, and then fall and winter, the land again would be barren, which is where we have seasons from. But it wasn't always like that until Demeter. Interesting. So Persephone. Oh, so this is I hate this image personally, but this is Hades kidnapping Persephone, and you can see like Hades hounds back here. So Persephone was the daughter of Demeter and Zeus. She was kidnapped by Hades and brought to the underworld, which Zeus just like let happen, which hate that for everybody in this situation. Persephone was the goddess of spring, vegetation goddess, and the queen of the underworld, also seen as an angel of death. And Persephone symbolism comes with pomegranates, seeds of grain, flowers, and deer. So it can be attributed with Virgo. I do see Virgo as being more so her mother, Demeter, but you get it. It's all correlated. So Virgo astrological interpretations. Purity could also be seen as cleanliness or purifying out a situation. Precision, innocence, justice minded, like very high sense of moral integrity, righteous, hopeful, offers others hope, offers solutions, very solution oriented, truthful. They might be very into nature or feel good in nature. They might grow their own food, or gardens or flowers. These people might be healers or even in the medical profession as a nurse or something like that. They may be actually corrupted by others, as we saw with Persephone, and change personalities, giving harsh punishments for wrongdoing, as we can see with Demeter, and then might end up actually falling in love with abusive people because of the power and status that it gives them, like with Persephone being the queen of the underworld, then by being Hades, girly pop. So a lot of stuff happening here, but that is the Leo energy overall. Very interesting energies here. So this is a breakdown, which if you bought this series, then I'd probably have sent you this in the the Google Sheets form anyway. But very interesting to see, you know, for example, if somebody has a 5 degrees Leo versus a 9 degrees Leo, like that 9 degrees, they're going to have Hydra alignments, Leo alignments, Leo minor alignments. So a lot of potential other energies that you could look at to give these people a deeper understanding of who they are in the entire celestial space beyond just the regular zodiac signs. All right, but that is Leo. Next up, we have Virgo, which we just talked about, but we'll talk about it in more depth. All right, cool.